welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. Today is the first video of 2020. I did have a plan to do 2 other videos during the holidays, but life happened and a little wrench got thrown into the plans there. I had made a schedule for at least 3 other videos before the year closed out, but then the holidays happened, and with that, traveling happened. And I did have another plan for today's video as well, but I decided to just do something fun. So we're actually going to end up doing a Pokemon Gijinka today. So with that in mind, we're actually going to kind of be making up for one of the videos that I missed, which is one of the Saturday shuffles. And in the spirit of winter, we're going to be doing Ice-type Gijinkas. So let's go ahead and generate our 4. And let's go for, there it is, Ice. Let's see who we get. Pretty good group there. So, as the few followers of my channel may know, I had actually planned on doing 2 more Time Warp Tuesdays, and I'll go ahead and post them up now. But the main thing with the 4th one was that this was the second digital piece that was going to be in full color, and then the last one was going to be a little bit more of a challenge, translating a traditional piece I had done back in high school, which is actually one of my favorite pieces, and translating that into a digital piece of art and seeing if I could update the concept a little bit. But that didn't happen. Maybe we'll get around to it, maybe we won't. I won't be making any promises on that. Moving on into 2020, and moving on into this Gijinka video. As you can see, we're starting out with the Alolan Vulpix. Now, I personally have not played Pokemon Sun and Moon. I have watched a few episodes from the anime, if you want to call it that. But the last Pokemon game that I actually, played through was... must have been Ruby and Sapphire, quite honestly. Telling my age. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. You can just figure that out for yourself. But, yeah, Ruby and Sapphire, all the way back in Gen 3, which maybe that's why Gen 3 has a soft spot in my heart. But I do like how with, the Alola, well, I guess Sun and Moon, and then now with Sword and Shield, they have these region-specific versions of the Pokemon, and I think it's just an interesting twist on something that's an old character design, just something to kind of give it a little bit of new life. So with this one, I immediately was drawn to the big fluffy tuft that's of course on Vulpix's hair, and then the tail. I actually thought about giving her a belt tail. I had done that with, I think the Zigzagoon Gijinka, and it's something that I typically do when I'm translating animal-esque characters into, actual humans versus just making them anthros. But I decided to just nix the tail because she's cute enough and the fluff, she's got enough of that going on, and you can see the inspiration there. As far as the color palette, it's pretty straightforward, and I actually didn't realize this until I laid out my canvas, is that the generator gave me 2 white Pokemon and 2 blue and tan Pokemon, with basically the exact same color palette. So my challenge for this was, how am I going to make this interesting? So of course I add a little bit more bluish elements in there than that's actually on the Vulpix, because of course she's just white fur with blue paws. So I take the paws and make them her socks, and then I give her this icy blue jacket to kind of break up all of what otherwise would have just been just white everywhere. And I'm actually glad that for the background I went with a soft blue so you could see all of this white that I'm working with. Now we're moving on to Dugong, who I stuck with a white and gray / silver color palette because there was literally no other colors to work with. With the Alolan Vulpix, there were at least some shades of blue, in the eyes and the ears and on the paws. This one, it's just white. So I could have gone with a dress to kind of incorporate those frills in there, but I wanted to do a male character because I'm always drawing females, so I give him these frilly cuffs and frilly pants, and again I go with the puffy white jacket. Kind of ends up looking somewhere between Missy Elliott and P. Diddy at the end of all of this, and then silver what do you call them? They were really popular back in like the 2000s. I think they're called gaucho pants or something like that. It was this really weird fashion trend where the pants had flares at the end, so that's what I went with for that. And then just a splash of color, giving him these like big, not quite snowboarder sunglasses, but just like these big sunglasses instead of just drawing eyes. And as far as the skin tone, again, to break up all of this white vastness, I actually gave him more of an Inuit skin tone. So they're a little more melanated than your typical, you know, northerner, I suppose. So just a little bit there, and again, just a color choice to break up all of that white. Even the shoes, I was going with the dark gray at first, and I was like, I'm going too far out of the color palette. And I do end up making those a very, like, pale gray-white color. Celio was actually, I think, my favorite out of the bunch. And I'm affectionately, while I was sketching him, calling him Celio Green. And that also kind of influenced what I drew this character as. But of course, Celio has this signature mustache. And I just went from there. Like, just have this big, chunky, aristocratic dude. He's adorable. My husband said he reminds him of the walrus from Alice in Wonderland and the cabbages and kings bit. And I can see it. But this guy is not a dink. He's just, you know, enjoying his life and enjoying money and just being chill. It's not really bothering anybody. And this one, so I actually used a new brush for this set. And I think you can see it best in this one. The line weight just organically shifts versus the previous brushes I used. It was just a stagnant line weight and I had to go back in with the eraser and chip some stuff out. This one actually changes with the speed and pressure, which is exactly what I need. And I love it. I found it about 2 weeks ago and I've been using it nonstop. So of course I'm using it for this one too, and because this one doesn't have as many small parts, like the Vulpix had a bunch of like little fluff, and then the Dugong not as much detail, so this is like a fine medium where you have details but they're still big shapes and you can see the varying line weight within the character itself. And then of course the color palette is just straight picked from the icon itself onto the character. I kind of gave him some little like vacation loafers because again he's just, you know, just chilling, enjoying life. And last but not least we have Lapras. Now when I saw this one, of course when you're doing Gijinkas you want to pick out elements that make the character noticeable or recognizable without it being like too spot on, I guess. So the first thing was, okay, the horn. How the heck am I going to handle this big old horn that she has in the middle of her head? I just made that into a unicorn headband. Of course, I gave her these two cute little like cinnamon bun rolls on top of her head for her hair. And then the shell, I just turned that into an oversized backpack. In my head, this character is actually cosplaying. She's going to a con and she's got this big old shell backpack for all the loot she's gonna boot at the artist alley. And she's just this sweet little child just going about, just like the rest of them, just living life, enjoying being a Pokemon Gijinka. And as I mentioned earlier, the color palette is exactly the same as Celio, which was both hilarious and frustrating. So for this one, I actually did decide to give her sweater a little bit of variation to kind of make it look shiny, not quite like dragon scales, because Lapras has like smooth, leathery skin. But I did give it a little bit of shimmer, kind of like a watery effect, and then I just added those little spots around the bottom and the collar. Now with the skin tone, this was something that was just kind of arbitrary, but I figured like maybe she's on some kind of beach, even though Lapras is an ice Pokemon. Lapras is typically depicted in warmer, beachy climates, which has got to be uncomfortable for it. So I gave her a darker skin tone in that respect. And then the slippers, I just made them exactly like the Lapras fins. And here we have our 4 completed Gijinkas for today's random Pokemon Shuffle challenge. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, think about liking and subscribing and maybe sharing it with your friends. In the meantime, stay warm and have a weird day.